So we had our first practice this morning. The 15 were allowed for spring, just so you got that.
Awesome. So, talk a little bit about spring practice. It's here. Tell me a little bit about what you hope to get out of it.
Well, first of all, it's just great to be out there. You know, it's a long off season, and all of us coaches coach to be on the field. All the players play to be on the field. And the off season winter conditioning, as necessary and as important as that is, and we've had a very good winter session. It's just great to get back on the field. And all the weather forecasters need to be fired. Okay, it never rains on the Jacks. Okay, because what was it, 80% today, and we're out there. We end at 6:30, and it's blue sky overhead. So no, it was really nice that the weather did cooperate, and that we were able to get out there and get some things done.
Tell me a little bit about what you saw out there. What did you like out there?
The enthusiasm is great. Day one, it's always chaotic. Yeah, we got new coaches too at some positions, so it's their first day. The players are just, they want to please in such a big way. But it can be a little bit chaotic, a lot of screaming, a lot of guys moving around, all this stuff. And as I told the players afterwards, you can't wait for day one to get here, and then you can't wait for day one to get over. Because once now we'll settle into a routine, players and coaches understand that routine, and things will smooth out. But no, for day one, I was very pleased.
You kind of already touched on this with your first answer, but just tell me a little bit more about how important spring practice is. What does the team gain from doing this? Yeah,
the great thing about spring is there's no game plan to worry about. There's no opponent to prepare for. So it's all about teaching, and it's all about evaluating. And certainly we want to put players in game-like situations. We've got a lot of freshmen that redshirted this past season. All right, well, that's behind them now. Now there's an opportunity to compete for a role. And there's others. I've got to find out who my backup quarterback is, and so there's a lot of position battles like that where you got to answer questions. You go into spring with a lot of questions. Let's make sure that we come out of spring with a lot of answers to those questions. So we'll work on that. We are allowed 15 practices by NC2A rule, so we've got one under our belts, 14 to go. We'll have 2 scrimmages along the way. But no, the enthusiasm was great, and again, we'll move quickly. It's also fun to have Coach Sachs as a defense coordinator and Coach Wheeler in the secondary, and finally I get a chance to see them coach for the first time. Again, there's great knowledge that they bring to the program, great enthusiasm. I love the energy. Love the energy. I don't know where Coach Sachs gets it. He and I are the same age, and he makes me, again, he's got great energy, and it's fun to see.
Awesome. I think that's all I've got.
Coach, how excited are you the fact that you are returning so many starters from last year? Like you said, a lot of freshmen that maybe didn't get an opportunity last year that will get to compete. How exciting is that going into spring, knowing that you have so much of your core returning next year?
We do, but we can't relax because of that. We've got to still realize we have to get better, and need to get better, can get better. And that experience you talk about is really on the offensive side of the ball. And granted, this team will have more experience and more accomplished players on the offensive side of the ball than any team I've had. When you return a career passing leader, a career rushing leader, a career receptions leader, even though Chase is out for the spring as he recovers from surgery, and then an offensive lineman that's been a 3-time lineman of the year will be a 4-time lineman of the year in the conference. I've never had that. That's a luxury. But even they can get better. And they need to lead the way as we move through this. Defensively, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. We've got 3 players out with injury right now that will miss spring. Chase Crevichet has had a second hip surgery. Okay, he should be fine and ready to go for fall. We're thankful that we kind of identified, or his doctors identified, that the other hip also needed repair, and so we had that done in late February. Connor Cox, a starting linebacker, will miss spring recovering from shoulder surgery. So again, that's normal. That happens. We also have a player in Dylan Zuberink who would compete for a starting receiver position, unable to go in spring because of the 10-semester rule. This would be his depth if he went full-time, so he doesn't go full-time to preserve that and have that for the fall. Those are normal things that we go through, I think, every spring. But just fun to be out there. Again, the offense has to get better and lean on that experience that it has, and the defense with new coaches has to come together.
What was some observations that you had from this day one as compared to some of the other first days of spring you've had?
Oh, that's hard. They all run together. Again, first days are always the same in so many ways. And I use the word chaos and we had our first day issues, right? We film all our drills. When we get into the office afterwards, well, one of the cameras didn't have a memory card. We don't have film of that drill, and those type of things. So again, one day, first days, you get out there and you really just want to work. You're excited to be on the field. Okay, you want to get everyone understanding the organization of practice. Okay, the routine that we're going to go through, and the pace of the routine. And what we tell everybody, mistakes are going to be made. Well, let's make them at full speed, right? There's different ability levels, but everybody has the ability to give us their best effort, okay? And that's what we want to see start on day one. So you establish those core values that you want to bring to practice, and I think we're able to do that this morning.
What are you most excited about it's day one. Everyone's
Yeah.
excited, but
Yeah.
I guess coming into day one, what's the most exciting thing for you besides the returning senior, sorry.
I want to see our defense come together. Again, we got a new defense coordinator, a new secondary coach right there. I've taken last year's defensive line coach, moved him to linebackers. Okay, so I want to see how our players respond to the coaches on the defensive side of the ball, and we must be better defensively. Again, when we have games like last year, the opener 52-46, I think it was, something like that. Other games where the opponents were scoring, in the upper 30s, low 40s. That's uncharacteristic for Lumberjack defense. Led the conference in defensive statistics in 2014 and 2015. Dropped off primarily just because we had a lot of new players. Well, many of those players are now back with experience, and then you add, we got a young kid by the name of Devin Sanders as a defensive end, redshirted last year. Names that our fans are unfamiliar with at this point, and so it's just let's get better from day one to day two to day three as we go, and keep moving forward.
Like you said, the defense last year was definitely, a softer point on the team. But everyone was working really hard and wanting to get it done. What is Coach Sachs what does he do differently? Does he have a different approach? Like, how is he gonna make these guys work better?
Again, he's very vocal and very energetic, and those are his strengths. Plus, he's got tremendous experience. I mean, he's been doing this for now 30 years. Okay, he's been a coordinator before. Majority of his career has been spent as a defensive line coach. So again, he's coached a number of guys that are playing at the next level and such, and brings a great deal of experience. But it is a new voice, and so the players have to adjust to that new voice. And with that new voice is a new way of doing things.
And how did you notice them responding? I mean, just in day one,
They want to please. They're out there. They're doing everything they can, and that's what, as we talk as coaches after practice, these guys want to please. Yes, there are mistakes, but they're making them at full speed. And what you're going to look for now as you move forward, let's not repeat those mistakes, right? You make them once, that's fine. Don't make it a second time, okay? Learn from that first mistake as you move forward. But again, we're going to get our defense running to the ball, doing little things that are important, that are big things in the end result, and I think that's where Coach Sachs, Coach Wheeler, and Coach Montgomery will put that emphasis.
And then maybe you don't want to give any secrets away, but are there any player shuffles or redshirt shuffles that you're thinking about changing up position wise, or trying out different?
Not really at this point. We did move a redshirt freshman, Ryan McCombs, from receiver to tight end. Made that move. We only have 2 tight ends right now, so it was in part because of our lack of depth there, but also to give him a better opportunity. I moved one of my young quarterbacks over to free safety in the offseason. They'll get them a lot more reps and a lot bigger opportunity than what they may have sitting as a 5th or 6th team quarterback, for example, in that case. So some subtle things like that. But again, it always changes. The team we had in 2016 is different than the team we'll have in 2017. The team we have this spring will be different than the team we have ultimately in the fall. We had a really successful recruiting year, we believe, but a lot of those guys won't be here, until we start in August. Now we do have some players that are here. Parker Jobin, an offensive lineman, transferred in mid-year. Braxton Word, a defensive lineman, in mid-year. Jameer Austin came in mid-year also. So we've got some mid-year guys, and it's so beneficial that they are here and having the advantage of going through spring. But a lot of key guys that we'll end up relying on quite a bit come September, October, November aren't here yet.
And what do you see from the new guys that are here so far today?
I think we recruited good players, and it's early again, but they're out there. Parker Jobin, okay, he's a center, right? Well, this is the first day we've had a chance to actually work on snap counts and things like that. So we're doing drills, and he's hearing a live snap count for the very first time. very unfair to him, right? So everybody's off and he's still got the ball on the ground before he snaps it. But those things will be worked out.
And were they interacting with the returners or?
Yeah, it goes back to our off season. We started this back the third week of January, with Drew Peterson, and we've been going at 6:30 in the morning, from the start of the semester. So, and we actually ended up moving spring practice back this year to after spring break. Normally, we would have 7 practices under our belt by spring break, take spring break off, and then come back for the final 8. But with the changes on the defensive coaching side of the ball, I decided to push it back to give our defensive coaches a better opportunity to develop those important relationships with players and be involved in the winter program and everything like that. So what we did was we added 2 weeks to our winter conditioning program. All of these new players have been going through that. So in terms of knowing their teammates and getting comfortable with their teammates, all that has been worked out. But going on the field is entirely different. Again, you got there, now things ramped up a little bit, but again, we'll see a much better day 2 than we had day 1.
And is that change in the practice schedule something you would do next year, considering?
I know Drew loved it. He loved having the extra 2 or 3 weeks with players. I always liked the fact that, hey, we can go 7 practices, and our 7th practice was always the Thursday before spring break. All right, it would be a scrimmage. And I'll tell you what, the players had their engines running, their cars loaded. Because as soon as the scrimmage was over, they were off on spring break and wanted to go, right? And it gave us a 9-day period in between, right almost midway through practice. So guys with small injuries, bumps and strains and things like this had a 9-day period to recover to come back for the final 8 practices. I like that part about it. I like the fact that it gave everybody a break. We could say 2 weeks, pedal down, let's go hard at it, and then we've got a break, and then we come back for the final 2 weeks, before we finish it off. So let's get through this one first, because we're going to move quickly. We're going to have 15 practices in by April 14th. Okay, so that's moving, we're going 4 this week and then 4 every week, for the last, 3 weeks of it. So we're getting after it pretty good.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks,
Okay,
Coach.
thank you.
Thanks, Coach.